Before beginning troubleshooting, determine what is working by trying the other functions that may work in conjunction with the faulty area. By comparing what does work versus what doesn't, you will get a few steps ahead in the troubleshooting process. We recommend you always refer to the appropriate service data provided with the product while servicing. Also, refer to the consumer use, care, and installation guides for a more detailed explanation of proper operation, care, and installation. Caution: major appliances operate on high voltage levels that may cause serious injury and/or death. Disconnect power before servicing. Many appliances have sharp edges that may cause injury. Please be careful when servicing. Important: as with all laundry products, this machine must be grounded. The grounding method used must comply with any local electrical codes. If measurement is required with the power on, use alligator meter clips to measure hands-free. When making resistance measurements, always do so with the power disconnected. You can be injured and cause damage to equipment. This program is an independent production and is not sanctioned by nor considered as a representation by any appliance manufacturer. The load size knob gives you the option of selecting the water level desired by simply turning the knob. Notice that the wash, spin, and wash, rinse selector is a mechanical push-button device. For the wash and spin speeds, you have a choice of 3 options. And with the temperature selector, you have 4 options. The extra rinse option allows you the opportunity to provide a second deep cold rinse in the cotton's regular and/or the permanent press cycles. To remove the extra rinse option, press the reset button located next to it. The bleach dispenser operates similarly to most bleach dispensers by allowing the consumer to add liquid bleach without pouring it directly into the tub on the clothes. The fabric softener operates by centrifugal force. After the liquid fabric softener and water is poured into the dispenser and the machine goes into the first spin cycle, the liquid is forced up the sides and out into the temporary holding slots of the dispenser. When the spin cycle stops, the liquid falls into the tub. It is recommended that the fabric softener dispenser gets cleaned occasionally. Please refer to the appropriate owner's manual for further instructions. Before beginning service on any product, we always recommend you refer to the service data provided by the manufacturer prior to performing any service. On this product, the service information is located inside of the control panel. To remove the control panel, remove 4 Torx screws located on the upper back of the control panel. Lift the panel out and lean it forward. This allows you access to the switches, timer, and service data. To remove the water level selection switch, pull off the knob. Then push in the tab holding the switch in position. Turn the switch in a counterclockwise rotation and lift it out. Reverse this process to install the new switch. In order to replace the speed and temperature switch assembly, remove 4 1/4-inch hex screws and lift it out. The timer, which is not a serviceable part and must be replaced when it fails, can be replaced by first removing the knob assembly. This can be done by gently pulling on the knob while removing the plastic clip that holds it in place. Turn the assembly over and remove the 1/4-inch hex screw and then lift the timer out from under the tabs holding it in. To reinstall the timer, slide it in the tabs and reinsert the screw. To replace the knob, insert the plastic tab on the shaft and push the knob back on. It should lock into place. In order to access the other serviceable components, remove the front panel by finding 2 clips between the lid and front panel. Insert a putty knife on each end to release the clips and pull the panel forward and lift it off the frame. You now have access to the bleach dispenser, pump motor, start capacitor, and front of the spin basket assembly. To replace the motor and pump assembly, remove 2 3/8-inch bolts located in the front. Pinch off the hose from the tub and make sure you have drained the water off from the drain hose to avoid getting yourself soaked. Using pliers, move the hose clamps back, then pull off the hoses. Remove the lid assembly by taking out 2 1/4-inch hex screws located on the front of the cabinet. Disconnect the bleach funnel hose, then pull the lid assembly towards you. Disconnect the orange and red-white wires from the lid switch, then pull the lid assembly off. To remove the spin basket, take out the 5 1/4-inch hex screws from the control panel bracket, then lift off the bracket. Move the 4 5/16 bolts holding the dampening straps, then pull off the straps. Unclip the 8 tabs on the tub cover and pull the cover off. Remove the agitator by grasping underneath one side while holding the center of the agitator with the other hand. Jerk the agitator up sharply, then lift it out. Remove the 7/16 bolt that holds the bell coupling to the shaft. Remove the left-handed hub nut with the specially designed hub nut tool and a hammer. Keep in mind that the nut has left-handed threads. Lift out the spin basket. Notice that there is a liquid in the spin basket rim. This is a saltwater mixture employed to keep the product level and balanced during spin. To remove the tub and motor assembly, first take out the split ring and washer from the transmission. Remove the motor harness connector, drain hose, pressure switch hose, and bleach funnel connection. Remove the front rod and spring assemblies by pulling them out while lifting the tub assembly up. Repeat the process for the rear rod and spring assemblies. To remove either of the front rod assemblies from the frame, lift it up and turn the bushing so that the tab lines up with the keyed space on the frame. Tilt the tub towards you and lift it out. Important item. When reinstalling the tub assembly, it is best to attach one of the rear rod assemblies first. Then follow with the rod that is located diagonally across from the rear rod just attached. After you have already removed the tub and motor assembly from the washer frame, while squeezing the belt, unbolt the 3 1/4-inch pulley nut and lift the pulley off. Remove 4 3/8-inch bolts holding the transmission and also the 4 1/2-inch bolts holding the mounting frame to the tub. Lift off the frame, then lift out the transmission and brake. To reinstall the transmission, reverse the procedure just shown. When you find a problem with either slow or no fill, the obvious place to check is the supply itself. Make sure you have sufficient water pressure to the fill hose. Also, you will want to remove the plastic water filter screen inside the water valve and examine it for debris or sediment. If you encounter a problem where the washer will not fill either in hot, warm, or cold, check from the neutral side of the line to the connection with the brown wire on the water level switch. You should read line voltage. If you don't read approximately 120 volts, this indicates a problem with the water level switch. Check the water pressure assembly itself to make sure there is no damage to or sediment in the housing or hose itself. Check the switch by first removing power. Disconnect the connections to the switch itself and place your meter leads on the points where the yellow, black wire and violet wire were. Remove the tubing from the housing and blow into the tube. You will not only hear the click of the water switch, but also read 0 ohms when the switch closes. If you find the readings are incorrect and the switch does not click, you may need to replace the switch. If the problem is only that either the hot or cold does not fill, check across the water valve itself. You should read approximately 120 volts. If you find 120 volts, most likely the valve has failed. If you do not have 120 volts across the valve and you know the temperature selection is correct, place the timer in the start position of a wash cycle. Pull the timer knob out to start fill. Then disconnect power. Place your meter on the ohms scale and take the following readings. When you select a cold fill, you should read 0 ohms between T3 and T1. When selecting a warm fill, you should have a 0 ohms between T5 and T1. and 0 ohms between T4 and T2. If any of the readings are incorrect, replace the temperature switch assembly. For problems associated with the motor not running, the first logical place to check is across the load itself. To do this, measure across neutral and the S6 connection point on the speed select terminals if you are using the normal wash speed, or neutral and S1 connection if you are using the gentle wash speed. You should read approximately 120 volts. If the voltage is correct and the motor does not run, the problem is most likely the motor or associated components. If all electrical indications seem fine, you may need to examine the clutch, belt motor, or possibly the transmission for mechanical failure. To replace the drive belt, first remove the front panel as demonstrated earlier. Remove 4 3/8-inch nuts on the bottom of the motor assembly. Push the motor in. The belt should now drop off. To remove the motor, unplug the connector, then lift the motor up so that the bolts come out of the tracks. Lean it back so that the clutch is facing you. You may now remove the motor. When reinstalling the motor, make sure you adjust the belt tension for a 1/2-inch deflection. This product will only go in spin when the following conditions are met. The water level switch is closed across the brown and yellow-black connection as shown here. This indicates that the water level has dropped to a level low enough for the tub to spin. You may notice that the washer may go in and out of spin several times before staying in the spin cycle. This is happening because the water level switch is opening and closing due to the changes in pressure caused by the centrifugal force of the water during spin. Once more water pumps out, the spinning will continue without stopping. The timer must be in the spin position, which closes the connections, as shown in this diagram, between R11 and R12, allowing voltage to the speed select switch S3 on through either S6 or S1 depending on the spin speed selection. This brings 120 volts to run the motor provided the lid switch is closed. If all electrical indications seem correct, check the transmission, belt, and clutch. To check the timer motor, simply place your meter leads across neutral and the violet wire going to the water level switch. The timer will only begin advancing after the water level switch has closed across the violet and yellow-black connection. This indicates that the water has reached the appropriate level. Should you read 120 volts across the timer motor and the motor does not advance, this indicates a bad timer motor. Provided all other functions work and the washer does not pump water out, first check across the pump connections. You should read 120 volts. If you do, disconnect power and physically inspect the pump. It may be jammed or blocked by a foreign object. If not, you probably have a bad pump motor. If you do not read 120 volts and you know for sure that the timer is advancing, this indicates that there is a problem in either the connections to the timer and pump or a faulty connection inside the timer, which means the timer will have to be replaced. Caution: when you have completed service on any appliance, make sure you have reconnected all grounding devices to the original position. As we said in the beginning of this program, when troubleshooting, it is best to first try all other functions that may work in conjunction with the faulty condition, by comparing what does work to what could cause the existing faulty condition. You will be able to isolate the problem and save a few steps in the troubleshooting process.